السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. First of all, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep all of you safe wherever you are and to accept your good deeds. You are welcome to the third session of the Da'wah course that I said will take 2 months. And this is actually to be brief, because if we are to discuss each and everything, it would take around 6 months. So tonight we will discuss important qualities of a da'iyah and how to win the heart of your da'wah target. So we'll be discussing the qualities that you need to have as someone doing da'wah to the non-Muslims and how to win the hearts of the people you are doing da'wah to. So I will begin with this quote, which is about patience and which is very, very important when you do da'wah. It says, patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. So which means patience is not only your ability to wait for the results, but the attitude also. So, you know, sometimes, yes, people have patience in waiting for the results that they need, but at the same time, their attitude is negative. So during this process of patience, your attitude has to be positive, and you have to put into mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you are sincere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you victorious in the end. So I come to another quote which says, faith is patience during difficulty and thankfulness during prosperity. So when you are suffering from problems, and now here as du'at, when you are dealing with a difficult situation, when you are dealing with a difficult person, you need to be patient. And when you succeed to convince this person to be a Muslim, and actually we always say that it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who guides. For us, we just pave the way, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do the job alone, but out of His infinite wisdom, out of His infinite generosity, He wants us to get some rewards through being reasons for that person to become a Muslim. So during this process, when you are doing da'wah to someone, if they are they are rude to you, if they insult you, if they do not respect you, don't lose heart. Continue with the mission, because the path of da'wah is not filled with roses. It has a lot of thorns in it, but in the end, you will be victorious, inshallah. So there are things to consider if you want to be a successful da'iyah. And as we said before, da'wah was the work of the prophets and messengers, and the best words that you can say, they are the words that you use in order to convince someone to be a Muslim, or the words you use to convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because here you are encouraging people to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They only want to worthy to be worshipped, and he is our cherisher, creator, protector, provider, among others. So if this is your aim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards you abundantly. So if you've decided to do da'wah, it will take time for you to reap the fruits of your hard work in da'wah. It's not easy. Do not expect to convince someone within 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and then this person becomes a Muslim. It takes time. For example, from my experience, some people, I've been doing da'wah to them for 10 years, some of them 6 years, some of them 3 years, and all of a sudden, you didn't expect this person to be a Muslim. He calls you all of a sudden after 6 years of hard work. He says, I'm ready to be a Muslim. So do not expect to be an easy job that you will talk to someone 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, and then he becomes a Muslim. And actually, I would like to emphasize this. You know, sometimes some brothers, you know, come to me and tell me, you know, I met a non-Muslim, I discussed with him Islam, within 2 hours, he became a Muslim. It's not possible. No one will take a decision to become a Muslim within 1 hour or 2 hours. Maybe if you talk to him and he becomes a Muslim, maybe someone had started somewhere doing da'wah to this person, or this person has been reading, he had some misconceptions here and there, he had some doubts. So when you clear his doubts, he says, okay, let me now wholeheartedly become a Muslim. But you can't in 1 minute or 2 minutes convince someone to be a Muslim. That is impossible. So it needs time. And this person, the one you are doing da'wah to, has brain. He has a lot of things that he will put into consideration before he declares that he is a Muslim. So all in all, it takes time. Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, Jonah in English, was sent to the inhabitants of Nineveh who were idolaters and lived a shameless life. So these people were living in Mosul in Iraq, in a small village called Nineveh. They were idol worshippers. So Yunus alayhi salam, Jonah, was sent to these people to call them to Tawheed, to encourage them to worship only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to discourage them from idol worship. So those people disliked his interference in their way of worship. So they argued, we and our forefathers have worshipped this God for many years and no harm has come to us. So their argument was, we've been worshiping idols with our forefathers since a long time ago, and nothing bad has happened to us. So how dare you come today and tell us that we should worship only one God? So they defied his message. They didn't believe in him. So after, according to some sources, he did da'wah to them for 9 good years. 9 good years, and there were about 100,000 people. According to some accounts, there were 120,000 people. So eventually he gave up because no one believed. Now, when he gave up, he decided to leave the city. To cut the long story short, he left. Hardly had he left the city, then the sky began to change color and it looked as if fire was above them. So after Yunus alayhi salam had left, so people started looking at the sky, it changed color suddenly, and they saw something like fire, so they felt this fire is gonna engulf them. So those people got filled with fear by that sight. Then they recalled the destruction of the Thamud people, the Ad, and the people of Noah, who were destroyed before them because of their disbelief. So slowly, faith penetrated their hearts. They all gathered on a mountain and started beseeching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for mercy and forgiveness. All this happened after Prophet Yunus alayhi salam had left. So he was hasty. He would have been more patient, but the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says no one should criticize Yunus alayhi salam. So whatever he did, according to the circumstances and according to his faith, maybe there was something which we don't know about. So although he left them before time, after he had left, they all became Muslims. And according to some accounts, there were 100,000 Muslim people, and some accounts 120,000 people. So after he had left, they saw the sign that this could be punishment from them, then they believed. So the point here is, don't lose hope. So sometimes, I meet some brothers or sisters and they tell me, I've been doing da'wah to this person 5 years, 6 years, and he doesn't budge. It seems he will never ever become a Muslim. He will die as kafir. Never reach that judgment. So continue doing your work, continue doing da'wah. At the same time, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless your efforts, because as we said before, it's only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who guides. For us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the opportunity of getting the reward of being conduits to deliver the message to this person, but the only one who really guides is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we know that the only one who guides is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we need to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our efforts, we need to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to soften the hearts of our da'wah targets, those people whom we are targeting to do da'wah to. So Yunus alayhi salam, after leaving, people became Muslims. So you never know, you're just planting a tree, or it's like, drops of water falling on a piece of wood, they will eventually leave a mark over there. So do not underestimate whatsoever your efforts in doing da'wah to someone, even if this person seems to be arrogant, seems to be obstinate. Still, a word from you, the way you say it, the manner in which you say it, might leave a mark in his heart or in his mind, and eventually, you never know, this could be a turning point for him. So all in all, we need patience and we need to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we shouldn't underestimate whatsoever the work that we do. So talking about patience, there is a lady from Ireland, without mentioning names. She approached me. She was very tough, with a rough tone, bitterly criticizing Islam. She was a feminist. So she was criticizing Islam, that, you know, in Islam, we don't give women the rights. And even she wouldn't smile. She was very, very critical of Islam, and the tone was tough, and she wasn't friendly at all. So it was like you felt that maybe some enemies of Islam sent her to come and castigate the Muslims. So she talked. I let her vent out. I was just smiling, listening to her, trying to put myself in her shoes, where she came from, and I wasn't offended at all, although she was insulting Islam and Muslims sometimes. But eventually, after she had spoken, I asked her this question. I said, "Do you believe in the Bible?" She said, "Yes." "Which version of the Bible?" She said, "King James Version." Thank God. Alhamdulillah, I had that version with me. So I again asked her, "Are you sure you believe in the King James Version from cover to cover?" She said, "Yes." So I said, "If I quote anything from the Bible, you won't have issues with it?" She said, "Yes." "Even the Old Testament?" She said, "Yes." I opened for her Leviticus chapter 15, verses 19 to 28. And actually, it talks a lot, but I will just quote some verses of this chapter to you. So it says, Leviticus, I'm just quoting the Bible. If you have a Bible, you can refer to it after some time. It says in the Bible, when a woman has her regular flow of blood, when a woman has her regular flow of blood, the impurity of her monthly period will last 7 days. And anyone who touches her will be unclean till evening. Anything she lies on during her period will be unclean, and anything she sits on will be unclean till evening. So this is the Bible saying that when a woman is in her periods, she will be unclean. She's not allowed to touch anything in the house. She's not allowed to sit on anything in the house. Her husband is not allowed to touch her. It goes on and on. And unfortunately, I've heard of some tribes in Nepal whereby when women are in their menses, they excommunicate them for some time. Anyway, that's another topic. So the point here, this woman was critical of Islam, that we don't give Muslims their rights. And I asked her to read the Bible. She read it. I won't tell you her comments afterwards. This very woman who was very bitter at the beginning, who was insolent, who was ruthless in attacking Islam and Muslims, after 5 good years, she came to me. She was already a Muslim. So had I misbehaved at the beginning, had I also insulted her, had I told her I no longer want to talk to you because you don't respect us, maybe she wouldn't have been a Muslim. So we need to be patient. They will insult us, they will abuse us, and sometimes, you know, you get the impression that this person will never ever become a Muslim, but eventually you get shocked. This very person who was very critical of Islam and Muslims, he becomes a Muslim, and a good Muslim. I have another example, a man from France. He was a cardiologist, a very experienced cardiologist. So they brought him to me, and he was also tough. He said he believed in everything about Islam. The only issue he had was alcohol. So according to him, alcohol was medicine. It's ironical. This guy is a cardiologist. He's a doctor. He has to know the truth about alcohol, but he was believing that alcohol was medicine. Modern research tells us that that the belief that alcohol is medicine is a myth, that alcohol isn't medicine whatsoever. So what I did, I brought him to, first I asked him a question. Do you believe in Western research? If, for example, an American, British, or French doctor writes a book about medicine, would you trust him? He said, yes. Are you sure? He said, yes. I brought him a book written by an American. The title is Supermarket Remedies. Another one, How to Eat Right and Live Longer. And in both books, the author talks negatively about alcohol, and he says he doesn't recommend even a dot of it. I gave him the pages to read. He read by himself. He was speechless. He was speechless. So after 6 good months, he comes to me as a Muslim. So the point here is the people you are dealing with will be tough, will be rough, will be bitter in criticizing Islam and Muslims. Don't let this affect your moods. So concentrate on your points, because even prophets and messengers, who are the best creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were mocked, they were ridiculed. So if a prophet like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was mocked and ridiculed, so who are me and you? So let us concentrate on the mission and be patient. The very person today who criticizes you and Islam, tomorrow is going to be someone respecting you very much because of the knowledge that you gave him and because of the insights that he got from you. So you're not only speaking about Islam, but you are living Islam. You are a paragon of a good Muslim. So you should also react as a Muslim when you are dealing with the people you invite to Islam. So brothers and sisters in Islam, it's very, very important to be patient when you are doing da'wah. Now, this point is very, very important, and we need a lot of research in order to put this into perspective. When you've decided to do da'wah to someone, whether he is your relative, your friend, your acquaintance, your co-worker, whomever he should be, try to win the heart of that person. Winning the heart of that person will pave the way for you to effectively do da'wah to that person. If you fail to win his heart, your efforts will be futile. If you fail to win the heart of that person, your efforts will be futile. The Prophet ﷺ and prophets and messengers before him, they used to concentrate on winning the hearts of the people they were targeting to do da'wah to, in order for them to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we will be talking about some of the techniques of winning someone's heart if you really want this person to become a Muslim. Before I go to these techniques, first let me quote this hadith. And actually this hadith is very profound. I will read it in Arabic, then read the translation, then explain what exactly it means. So عن أبي هريرة أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الأرواح جنود مجندة فما تعارف منها ائتلف وما تناكر منها اختلف. It's in Sahih Muslim. This hadith is found in Sahih Muslim. It's hadith number 2638, authentic hadith. So the translation is, Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, souls are like troops assembled together. Souls are like troops assembled together. Those who familiarized with each other in the heaven from where they came would have affinity with one another in the world. And those among them who opposed each other in the heaven would keep apart in the world. Another translation goes, Souls are like troops. Some souls merge in qualities and ethics even if they appear different, and others clash even though they appear similar. The good ones look for their type, and the evil ones yearn for their type. Now, this hadith is very profound. It has two basic interpretations, and both interpretations are correct. We all know that our souls were created before the bodies. So we are body and soul. And the soul was created first, then the body. For example, Adam alayhi salam, according to some accounts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after creating him and fashioning him from clay, he stayed 43 years lying on the ground, speechless, motionless, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala breathed into him the soul. So after getting the soul, he started moving. So the soul was joined with our bodies after some time. So the hadith means, if your soul met with someone before the souls were joined with their bodies, and your soul get to know the soul of someone, so when the souls are created or are joined with our bodies, you see this person, you like him. And this is why, for example, you are walking somewhere, you see someone, you never saw him before, you never dealt with him before, and you say, I like this person. So two interpretations. When you feel you like someone whom you never saw before, this is because your soul and his soul met before the souls were joined with the bodies. So you got to know each other in heaven before your souls were joined with the bodies. So when you knew each other there, you feel like you are familiar with one another, yet here on earth, you didn't meet with one another. Another interpretation is, if you have good qualities, you are an honest person, you are a truthful person, and you find someone who is honest like you will like that person. So if you have similar good qualities, you like one another. If your souls met before they were joined with your bodies, you will like one another. So these are the basic two interpretations of the hadith. And actually, this hadith begins, actually this was the end of the hadith. It's a long hadith. It begins with, I'll read the translation, people are like minerals, each has different elements and an essence of good or bad according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. So this hadith, in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, we human beings are like minerals, gold, silver, platinum, according to the elements and essence that they have. Some minerals are more precious than others. Some minerals are treasured more than the others. So it's like people. So some of them are cheap, some of them are precious. Each one reveals what's in his core, either noble or lowly. So each person, the way he talks, the way he behaves, he reveals what's inside of him, what's in his core, whether this person is noble or lowly. So the best people before embracing Islam will be the best after becoming Muslims if they learn the Islamic jurisprudence. For example, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, before becoming a Muslim, he was the best. Of course, we can't compare him with the Prophet ﷺ, but he was the best among the mushrikeen. He didn't cheat anyone. He didn't lie. He didn't kill. He didn't drink alcohol. So he had a lot of good qualities before he becomes a Muslim. And this is why when he heard the Prophet ﷺ proclaim that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who is worthy to be worshipped, this resonated well with Abu Bakr, and quickly he became a Muslim. So he was the best in Jahiliyyah, and after becoming a Muslim, he was the best. If you exclude the prophets and messengers, the best person is Abu Bakr. So he was good in Jahiliyyah, he was good in Islam, because his core was good, his essence was good, he was a noble person. So the teachings of Islam quickly resonated with him. So, and it continues, and souls are like troops. Some souls march in qualities and ethics, even if they appear to be different, and some souls clash even though they appear similar. The good ones yearn for their type, the evil ones yearn for their type. So you can know the souls of their you can know the souls by their habits and the traits they were created with. Now here it says, if you don't like someone, this is just an interpretation of the hadith by scholars who have dug deep into hadith. They said, if you don't like someone who is good and righteous, you should look for the reason and remove it, because you should merge with good people. So in other words, according to our nature, when you see someone with good qualities, you should like that person. If you didn't deal with him, you just saw him and you feel you like him, maybe your soul met with that person before. So the point here is, if you are doing da'wah to a truthful person and you are not truthful, it will be fruitless. So when you decide to do da'wah, you have to be patient. And as I said before, sometimes those people you're doing da'wah to, intentionally, they will insult you, they will annoy you, because they want to see your reaction. How are you gonna react? If you react positively, then they know you mean what you say. But if you react negatively, then they know it's just a lip service da'wah. So we have to be careful in this. So now we go back to the point. How can we win the hearts of the people we are doing da'wah to? How to win their hearts? This is a large topic, but I'm just gonna give you some tips. One of them, it says, practice active listening. And we will be talking about the levels of listening. So here, if you want the person you are doing da'wah to, if you want him to like you, if you want him to respect you, if you want him to listen to you, listen carefully to what he says and do not interrupt him. Even if he says something that you feel does not make sense, listen actively. And actually, this is sometimes called empathetic listening. Empathetic listening, this is when you put yourself in the shoes of the person you are talking to. For example, you are born a Muslim, your mother was born a Muslim, your father was born a Muslim, and someone has been born in a place whereby there is no single Muslim, and the media is feeding them negative news about the Muslims. So this person has grown up feeding on negative news about Muslims talking to people who hate Islam and Muslims, and now for the first time he deals with Muslims, do you expect the attitude of this person will be like your attitude born Muslim? It won't. So when you are doing da'wah to someone, try to put yourself in the shoes of that person. Try to put yourself in the gown of that person, because he is coming from a different environment, different culture, different political setup. So you don't expect this person to feel about Islam the way you feel. So when you listen to this person, putting yourself in his shoes, you're gonna understand very well where he or she comes from, and this will understand you to determine how to begin your mission of doing da'wah to that person. So most of us don't like to listen, and actually I will be talking about a listening continuum. So one of the things that will make you win the heart of the one you're doing da'wah to, or your da'wah target, is to practice active listening. And this might not be easy for people who are highly extrovert. You know, people who are highly extrovert, they like to talk a lot. They like to interfere. Before you finish a sentence, they feel they know what you're gonna say. You know, most of the time you talk to someone, before you complete a sentence, they say, I know what you're gonna say. Yet it's wrong. Sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes, yes, at the beginning of it or in the middle of the sentence, he gets the point, but your point is something else, not what he's assuming. So empathetic listening is very important. If you listen to someone actively, this person will respect you. This person will like you. And actually, one of the things that you have to do in order to give the impression that you are actively listening to this person is to repeat what he says, or you can rephrase what you says. So he tells you something and you repeat, oh, so what you are saying is like, okay, the first time you saw Muslims was, so to give him the impression that you want to get the facts right. You don't want to misquote him. He will respect this, and this one will make him want to listen to you again and again, because he knows you are listening to him. Another tip on how you can win the heart of your target is ask good questions. Okay, when I say ask good questions, you know, don't seem like you are prying on his privacy, or you want to ask him special questions, and so that you take some secrets from him. What I mean by good questions, this person, before even you begin discussing with him religion or other things, you can ask him about his hobbies. If, for example, you are meeting the person for the first time, you don't know where he comes from, you can ask him about his country. And if you know some things about good things about his country, this is the time. Not negative things. You know, sometimes, you know, some Muslims have the tendency, for example, they met someone from France, they're trying to give him da'wah, and this person says, I'm from France, and the Muslims begin, you know, in France what they do is wrong. They don't allow Muslim women to wear hijab and niqab. This is not the time to talk about this. Even if it is, this person is not a politician. So when you talk about his country, make sure you talk about things which are good, things for which he will feel proud, which he would like to listen to, especially if you are not from that country. So before you start discussing, you have to ask good questions: where he comes from, the country, what is it famous for, the games and the hobbies that he likes. So you're creating a little talk so that you based on this, you're preparing him, his mentality, his psyche, to listen to what you're gonna say, and you're conveying the message to him that you are his friend. You are not judging him. You are not a stranger. So when you show care and concern about his country, and when you prove to him that you know something about his country, he will respect you more and he will feel more comfortable. For example, you can ask them where do they like to travel, countries that they like more. So these are good questions which will make this person feel comfortable when answering them, and gradually you will start talking about some other issues when he has felt comfortable talking to you. Another point is consider time and space. What does it mean? To exchange pleasantries. Don't go straight into the topic. So someone has come to you. Maybe he was brought by someone to learn about Islam, or maybe you are trying to do da'wah to him. You invited him to have a cup of tea with you. So you can't start right away with Islam. So you can begin with asking good questions, exchanging pleasantries, jokes. So you would ask him, even if he likes jokes, you can make a proper joke. You know, sometimes people, they don't know how to joke. So he jokes, he feels it's a joke, but it might offend you. For example, I told one of my friends that, you know, I have been invited by a pastor to a certain hotel. The pastor invited me. He had his friends, and he invited us he invited me and my friends to discuss how we can cooperate, Muslims and Christians. So I'm telling this friend of mine, a Muslim who was active in Dawah, I was assuming that he is going to encourage me. He is going to say, oh, wow, wonderful. But according to me, it was a joke, but to me, it wasn't. He told me, be careful. He might Christianize you. So he's telling me to be careful. This pastor will turn me into a Christian. So in my heart, I was saying, what does he take me for? Am I just a borderline Muslim who is an easy target to anyone? All these years I've been doing da'wah with him. All these years I've been helping him. This is what he thinks of me, that I can easily be turned into a Christian. So this is to give you an example that you can make a joke which can offend someone. To you, it's a joke, but to another person, it might offend him, especially if you come from different cultures. So making jokes to make a joke is good to prepare the situation and to prepare the ground for da'wah, but be careful. You might say a joke which is a joke to you, but it might offend the person you are talking to. So this is very important that we have to put into perspective. Some people are detail-oriented. So for you, for example, when you talk to someone, you like details. Some others are not detail-oriented. So if you are detail-oriented and you are talking to someone who needs just facts, you might need to pare down your response to a few facts, which means you should reduce your response just to some points. So what it means in your discussion with a non-Muslim, from the beginning, when you started little talk with him, and you discover that this person is not detail-oriented, is not interested in details. So for example, you know, some people will ask him, what time did you finish your work? So you want him to tell you exactly 1 p.m. And this person will begin, you know, at 12:45, my manager came, he was asking for the keys, blah, 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 blah. I ended up finishing work at 1:30. So I don't have time to listen to that. I just want you to tell me what time you finished the work. So I just want you to tell me 1:30 p.m. That's it. But you know, people are different, especially those who are overly extrovert. So which means when you deal with this person, you know that he is not detail-oriented like you. He just needs facts. So you have to reduce your responses. So go straight away to the fact, because if you give him details which he doesn't need, he will get bored, and next time he will no longer want to sit with you. And actually, this is among the problems that people are having in communication. You know, one of the things that I do marriage counseling, and a man came to me, he's from another country, the woman is from another country, and he was complaining about communication. So he was telling me, for example, that according to his culture, if someone is a wife, she wants to go to a supermarket, she would tell you directly, honey, tomorrow I want to go to the supermarket. Please, if you have time, drop me there. So this is a direct request. But his wife from her culture, they don't request directly. She would say, honey, tomorrow I would like to go to a supermarket. So if someone tells you, I would like to go to a supermarket, if she's wife, you assume she's asking for permission, or she's informing you she will go alone. So it doesn't mean she wants you to take her. So this created problems. So because when she told him, I will go to the supermarket, he thought she will go alone, and he went to his work. Finally, when he comes back home, she was angry why he didn't take her to the supermarket. So according to his culture, a wife should ask directly, please, tomorrow, 10 a.m., take me to the supermarket. For her, she doesn't do that. So again, this is what we can learn from communication. So if that person, the one you're talking to, likes direct questions, be direct. Don't beat around the bush, because if he doesn't like beating around the bush, he will be bored talking to you, and next time he will no longer want to talk to you. So you have to study what he likes, the mode of conversation, his body language, his tone. You mimic his tone, his body language, the way he wants the discussion to go. You follow his you follow the conditions that he sets forward. And of course, he won't tell you directly, but you will read from his facial expressions, from his tone, from his speech, you would know whether he's detail-oriented or not, whether he likes jokes or not, or whether he likes direct answers or not. You use your common sense to know all these things. So you deal with him, you talk to him according to what he wants. So if, for example, he doesn't want details, or he uses body language, you can also use body language. So the point is, body language is very important, but you have to adapt to the body language that he's using. Emotions are very important. You have to adapt to his emotions. And the tone is very important. If his tone is low, you have also to maintain the same tone. Sometimes people have high-pitched tone. So when they speak, you feel that they are quarreling. So if your tone is like this, so you need to reduce it to match the tone of the person you are discussing with, because especially if you come from different nationalities or different cultures, if you have a commanding tone, this might put him off. Be empathetic. Empathetic means try to put yourself in the shoes of that person. The person that comes to you to learn about Islam, try to think about him. Majority of us Muslims, we don't think about this, because I am a Muslim, I'm born a Muslim. I want everybody to respect Islam, to respect Muslims. But you don't put into consideration where this person comes from, his attitude about Islam before he met you, his parents' attitude about Islam, his country's attitude about Islam. So there are a lot of things that come into play when you discuss with this person. So if you understand his background very well, this will set the path for you to do effective da'wah to this person. And another tip on how to win the heart of the person you're discussing Islam with, disclose something about yourself. So for example, if he tells you he likes football, or for example, if you're from the UK, for example, and he likes Manchester United and you like Newcastle, you can talk about the teams that you like. If you know some names of the players in his team, you can discuss that, but don't be too personal. Don't, for example, criticize your wife in front of him. For example, a lady you are a man. She's a lady. She's coming to you. She wants to learn about Islam, and you're not criticizing, and you're comparing her with your wife. You're more eloquent than my wife. You're more this. Do not do that. These personal questions are not relevant when you are talking to someone about da'wah. Yes, you can talk about yourself, but don't go deep into personal issues, and don't compare between the person who is in front of you, because this will trigger a lot of thoughts, a lot of questions, and this person might lose interest in listening to you. So be careful on the questions that you ask this person, and on the facts that you tell this person. Don't criticize your wife, don't criticize your husband. For example, I used to attend somewhere with a brother doing da'wah, and whenever he talked to women, he would always praise them. You are more beautiful than my wife. So it isn't good. And actually, they were laughing, they were smiling, but behind his back, they were criticizing him. Yeah, so it's dangerous. You have to be careful. And then smile. If you want to win someone's heart, you have to smile. And actually, in Chinese, there's a proverb that goes, "Chuk wami pulansha pukai jumping." This is Chinese language. Chukwami pulansha pukai jumping, which means if you cannot smile, don't open a shop. No one will buy from you. So smiling is very important in different aspects of life. And when you are doing da'wah to someone, even if this person offends you, even if this person insults you, keep smiling. Smile will attract them. And actually, we have about four or five slides talking about smile. And actually, even the Prophet ﷺ says, "La tahqiranna min al-ma'ruf shay'an walau an talqa akhaka biwajhin talqin." So do not despise or do not underestimate any good deed, even if it is meeting with your brother with a smiling face. Again, if you are a woman, you're dealing with a man, and according to this man's culture, if you smile a lot, they will misinterpret the smile. Then you have to reduce your smile. But all in all, smiling is very good. Now, it is very, very important. Let me go back to this point. And actually, before I continue, let me share with you this quote. It says, "Don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength, and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else." So when you are doing da'wah, maybe this is the first person you meet with this person. This is the first time you meet with this person. Don't be intimidated because he's a stranger. You know nothing about him. Ask him questions. he will reveal himself to you. And actually, by asking questions, by being eager to know more about him, by being curious in a positive way, this will be your point of strength. These questions will just give you strength to talk about, because if you just assume maybe the person, okay, you met people like him somewhere and you assume he is like them, this is a problem. For example, I know some brothers, they do da'wah to a non-Muslim, and for them, every non-Muslim who comes from the West is a Christian. So they don't know denominations, whether Catholic or Protestant. So they just know Christian. So these people, the brothers, someone comes from either from America, from Canada, from the UK, and he tells them, I'm a Christian. They assume that this person believes Jesus is God, or he believes Jesus is the Son of God. And the person will continue, no, according to Islam, we don't believe in Jesus as God. God says you will go to hell, blah, 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 blah. After 1 hour, 2 hours, the man says, although I'm from the West, I don't believe that Jesus is God. I don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God. So why did you waste your time talking about Jesus not being the Son of God to a person who does not believe that Jesus is the Son of God? Which means there's a problem with you. You would have asked him questions, among them his denomination, and even you would have asked him questions about the core beliefs of his religion, so that you know where to begin. But assuming that everyone who comes from the West is a Christian and believes that Jesus is the Son of God, this is a problem. And a lot of Muslim brothers, when doing da'wah, they encounter this problem. So asking good questions, being curious to know the person you're dealing with, this is strength for you, because it will lay the foundation on which you will base in doing da'wah, and you will not be corrected most of the time. You know, sometimes a brother is talking to a non-Muslim and he tells something, the brother, no, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in this. So he keeps correcting you because you didn't do it from the beginning. You did not do it the right way. And da'wah, the style of da'wah depends on the person you're talking to. So I cannot give you a blanket strategy of doing da'wah, that you have to do da'wah to people, all of them like this. So it depends on the culture of the person who comes to you, the nationality of that person, the beliefs of that person, the psyche of that person, the attitude of that person, the profession of that person. So it depends on many things. Sometimes you don't need to talk about Islam even for months. Yeah, so your aim is just to know this person. And this is why we will be talking about finding common purpose. For example, if you are a basketballer and this person likes basketball, go and play with him. So let him get to know you as his teammate. So within time, he will start asking you questions about Islam. So you're using playing basketball, which he likes, to do da'wah to him. If he likes swimming, go and swim with him. So prepare some events that will bring you together with the non-Muslims to whom you want to do da'wah, because this will reveal a lot of commonalities between both of you, and this will be a good basis for you to do da'wah, because when he trusts you as a teammate, after some time, he will accept everything you talk to him. But meeting someone, you don't know him, you're meeting him in a supermarket, just for the first time, hello, I'm a Muslim, I want to do da'wah to you. He might respect you, he might be polite, but in his heart, he will think you are crazy. So it's very important to make sure you ask proper questions and you know very well the person you're doing da'wah to. So be interested in the needs of those you are inviting to Islam in particular and those you deal with in general. So if, for example, you need something from someone, don't be hasty in explaining your needs to that person. Be interested first in the needs of that person. So for example, my name is Hassan. I'm doing da'wah to Mark. I should be interested in fulfilling the needs of Mark. Everything that he needs, I give it to him, even without talking about Islam. So he needs, for example, he needs to go to the supermarket. I have a car. He's my colleague, he's my friend. I take him there. He needs some types of milk. I take him there. So we will be talking about this later. So be interested in the needs of the person that you target to do da'wah to, and eventually he will be interested in you. But if you want him to be interested in you from the very beginning, you are pushing him away from you. So this is not only me. There's a book entitled How to Win Hearts and Make Friends by Dale Carnegie. So there is a story of this man. His name was Charles Walters. He was manager of one of the largest banks in New York City. That was a long time ago. So he was assigned to prepare a confidential report on a certain corporation. So Charles Walters is given the responsibility of preparing a confidential report about a certain corporation. So he knew of only one person who possessed the facts that he needed so urgently. So he knew one person who would give him the facts about that company that he was going to write a report about. So Mr. Walters went to that company to meet that president of that company in order to take some facts from him, which would help him to prepare the report that he was tasked with. So Mr. Walters was ushered into the office of that corporation's president. And while he was in the office of that president, a young woman told the president that she didn't have any stamps for him that day. So the president of that, so we have Mr. Walters. He wants to write a report on a corporation. So he wants to meet with the president of that corporation in order to take facts from him to help him compile that report about the company of this president. So while he's in the office of that president, the secretary of the president comes to him and says, you know, I didn't get stamps for you today. So the president of that corporation tells Mr. Walters, you know, I am collecting some stamps for my 12-year-old son. So the president of that corporation was busy collecting stamps for his son who was interested in them. So some people used to have hobbies a long time ago. I don't know about nowadays. They would collect post office stamps from different countries. That was their hobby. So this president's son, 12 years old, was interested in collecting stamps. So his father was helping him. Probably the secretary was bringing him stamps every day. But this day she told him she didn't get any stamps. So he was worried about that. So Mr. Walter went ahead stating his mission and asking him questions, but the president of that corporation was not interested anymore because he didn't get the stamps. So the president of that corporation was vague, general, and nebulous. Nebulous means unclear because he didn't want to talk. Why didn't he want to talk? Because he didn't get stamps for his son on that day. So if Mr. Walters were clever, he would have told him, don't worry, I'm going to bring you some stamps. So when you go to someone, you have a problem and you need solutions from this person, and you find this problem being haunted, this person being haunted by the problem, offer solutions. If you forget about your problem, forget about your needs, now concentrate on the needs of this person whom you need. Interestingly, if you do that, the other person will be, even if you don't get the stamps, even if you don't get what he needed, but giving him the attitude, the impression that you were ready to help him, he will also be ready to help him. So Mr. Walters did a mistake. The person now is concerned. He doesn't have stamps for his 12-year-old son, and now you're coming here, you know, we need this is our company. So of course he won't listen to you. So the point is, be interested in the needs of the person that you are doing da'wah to. If you are interested in him, time will come when he also will be interested in you. And when he is interested in you, this is the perfect time for you to do da'wah. And whatever information you give him, he will be in a receptive mood. So for example, Benjamin Disraeli, who was one of the shrewdest men who ever ruled the British Empire, said, what did he say? Benjamin Disraeli, a shrewd businessman, he said, talk to people about themselves and they will listen for hours. So if you talk to someone about himself, this person will listen to you for hours because everyone wants to be praised. Everyone if, for example, you want to do da'wah to someone, ask them questions, show interest in them, and if they have problems, okay, problems that you can solve, show them or give them the impression that you are ready to help them with their problems. Even if you're not ready, give them the impression that you will research on how to help them. So this time, forget about da'wah. Just concentrate on the needs of that person. And when you're talking to someone, avoid flattery, because if you're flattering that person, he will understand. For example, someone comes to you for the first time, You never met with him, you never knew him, and now you want to praise him, you want him to feel good, and you are telling him, you know, I can see you're the cleverest man in the world, the most successful. He will know that you are flattering him. There are things that you can see in him which he knows about himself that you can use in order to praise him, so that you give him the impression that you are not a stranger, that you are a friendly person. So the point is, be interested in the needs of the person who comes to you to listen about Islam, and if you do so, he will also be interested in you, and when he is interested in you, he will be in position to listen to everything that you talk to him about Islam, and whatever you tell him after he has trusted you, it will be digested well. So we should learn to listen to others and respect their ideas and viewpoints. This is very important. Respect his ideas and viewpoints. For example, someone comes to you and tells you he believes Jesus is God. Listen to him. Don't say, no, that's wrong, that's kufr. Listen to him and show him that you respect him, you respect the way he's expressing himself. There's a quote here which says, knowledge will give you power, but character respect. So if you have knowledge, you will have power. But if you have good behavior, you will get respect. And if you are doing da'wah to someone, you need respect. You don't need power, because you don't feed this person, you don't employ him, you're not his father, you're not his president. So you don't need power at this position. What you need is respect. So you need good character in order to command respect from that person. So if that person respects you, every word that comes from your mouth will have value. Even if he doesn't agree with you, he will go and do more research. He will go and ask, and eventually he will come to you and say, you know, at the beginning I didn't agree with you, but after an extensive research, I now agree with what you said, and I respect that. How many times, for example, people come to me, the non-Muslims, and say, you know, at the beginning when you said this, we didn't. For example, just a quick example. I was talking to someone from Italy about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us. And I gave him the example of oxygen. I told him, you know, we breathe oxygen, and without it, we would die. We're getting it free of charge. And this is created by Allah. And even I asked him, I said, if a human being like me and you was in charge of releasing oxygen, would we really be getting it free of charge? He said, no. Our fellow human beings are very selfish. They will do this and that. And this very person, after 3 years, during this corona pandemic, he calls me from Italy and gives me a story of a man who was ill, who contracted the coronavirus and was put on a ventilator and was asked to pay 500 euros, and this person cried. So the doctors thought maybe he cried, he didn't have the money. He said, no, I'm crying because of how many years I have lived, many years breathing oxygen without paying any amount of money. So what if I was to pay every minute for the oxygen that I've been breathing? How much would I have paid? So the Italian man, whom I told a long time ago, he said, you know, Mr. Hassan, you are right. Now I believe what you said. He's from Italy, and this incident happened in Italy. So the point is here, what you say now to a non-Muslim, it might not make sense to him now, but time will come when it will make sense to him. So what matters is the way you convey the message to this person. And do not expect that every person you talk to will understand and believe in what you say at once. No, they have to digest, they have to think, they have to, it's a long process. So this is why, again, I say that you need patience when you are doing da'wah to the non-Muslims. And actually, there is a quote here which says, respect people's feelings. Even if it doesn't mean anything to you, it could mean everything to them. So someone comes to you, for example, and actually, I always give this example, and it's a very sad example. We used to go somewhere with brothers in a circle where we would meet some non-Muslims and new Muslims, and we would talk about Islam. And one of the non-Muslims was absent for 6 months. He did not attend the circle. So when he came back, a Muslim brother who claimed to have knowledge of da'wah asks him, he says, Mr. Tony, we didn't see you for 6 months. What happened? So Mr. Tony tells him, my mother passed away. I had to go back home. And this brother who claims to have experienced master's degree in comparative religion, who is a Muslim, he says, was your mother a Muslim? Tony says, no, she wasn't a Muslim. Then in front of everyone, he says, she will go to hell. Imagine such a situation. So someone has lost his mother. He's still grieving his mother. He's here to learn about Islam, about the mercy of Allah. He's in front of Muslims and non-Muslims. And you, a Muslim who claims to have a master's degree in comparative religion, you are telling him that his mother will go to hell. Who gave you the power to judge? So these are the things. So do not hurt the feelings of anyone. Even if you know that what he says is wrong, let them judge by themselves. You focus on the facts. They themselves, when they go back home, they will think about what they said and they will correct themselves. But if you judge them, they will come up with defensive mechanisms. Even if they know they are wrong, they will defend their way obstinately because they don't want to lose face. For example, I met with an imam. This imam was complaining about losing his son. What do I mean by losing his son? He is an imam, he prays, his son was not praying. His son wasn't listening to him. Instead of listening to the Quran, his son was listening to music. So I asked the imam, have you ever sat with your son? And actually his son was an adolescent. Have you ever sat with him to understand what he thinks, what his worries are, what his problems are during, especially during this age? He said no. So every time it's halal haram, halal haram. No, this doesn't work. That was an adolescent. So you have to sit with him. You have to rationalize with him. You have to listen to him. They have their own issues. So you have to understand their own issues. So be with him like a friend. Even if you are his father, deal with him like a friend. Let him confide in you his secrets. And then from there, you will find a way forward. But do this, do that, my father. No, this doesn't work. And this applies with the non-Muslims. Don't just, okay, this is our belief, you have to take it. No, make sure you convince them in the right way. And when they ask you the why questions, try to answer. If there is no answer, tell them, we believe that there is wisdom in it, and I will research the answer. I will get back to you. Some things we know the answers, some things we know the wisdom, and some others we don't. And remember that other people may be totally wrong, but they don't think so. Someone might be wrong, but he doesn't think he is wrong. So if you condemn him that he is wrong, you are actually pushing him off. And I have seen this with a lot of with some Muslim brothers who claim to do da'wah, but they push away the non-Muslims because they judge them, they condemn them, which they shouldn't do whatsoever. So what should you do when someone has a different opinion from yours? So for example, you are saying God is one, and he says there are three gods. You tell him Jesus is a messenger of God, and he says Jesus is the Son of God. So in such a situation, when you are dealing with this person, what should you do? First, try to understand their views. Listen to them. Don't be rude or arrogant. So when he's still talking to you, don't cut him, don't interrupt and say, no, Jesus is not God. But don't show arrogance and don't be rude. Number C, don't dwell on it. So if, for example, you haven't agreed on a point, just leave it the way it is, go to another point and tell him, we will come back to that one. Or maybe we will discuss this the other time. It's like, for example, when you sit an exam, you have only 1 hour and you have 50 questions to answer. So there is one question, you don't have an answer to it. You won't waste your time there. You will go forward, answer the questions that you know, and then come back to it. So likewise, you're dealing with someone, talking to someone about Islam, so you reach a deadlock, there is a point which he doesn't agree with you, leave it. Tell him we'll come to that some other time, discuss other issues. And another problem that some Muslim du'at have, they don't know the priority of giving knowledge to the non-Muslim. For example, a sister, she got the opportunity of doing da'wah to an American man. He comes to her, he wants to learn about Islam, and the first thing she told him is that Islam allows you to marry 4 women. Imagine someone isn't a Muslim, is among the critics of Islam, is among the people who claim in Islam women don't have rights, and now you have the chance to present Islam to him, and you begin with polygyny. We call it polygamy. Polygamy is divided into 2. There is under polygamy, there is polygyny and polyandry. Polygyny is when a man can have more than one wife at a time. Polyandry is when a woman can have more than one husband at a time. So if you say polygamy is allowed, it means polygyny and polyandry. So we say polygyny is allowed. So this lady was telling the man that, you know, in Islam, polygyny is allowed. You can marry up to 4 women. And the man she was talking to was among the people who were advocating for the rights of the women. So the man was complaining. So priority of what to say when you are dealing with a non-Muslim. This is another issue that we will be talking about. So try to understand the views of that person, understand them well, where they come from, his background. Don't be rude and arrogant. If there is a point which you don't agree with him and he doesn't agree with you, leave it and tell him you'll come back to it, and respect his opinion. Whether it's right or wrong, everyone has the right to have an opinion. So don't say your opinion is wrong, your opinion it doesn't make sense. Never ever tell anyone, whether you're doing dawah to this person or you're discussing, never tell the person his opinion doesn't make sense, because we're from different backgrounds, different beliefs. It might not make sense according to you, but according to him or her, it makes sense from her background, from his community, from his culture. So never ever tell one that their point does not make sense. And actually, unfortunately, some people do this. So your son is talking to you, you tell him it doesn't make sense. Your daughter is telling you, is talking to you, you're telling them it doesn't make sense. And after some time, you will lose connection between you and them, and you will start complaining they don't listen to you. This is because you were downplaying them. You were undervaluing their opinions. You didn't respect them. You didn't like to listen to them. So when it's too late, you begin complaining. So never, ever tell anyone that their opinion doesn't make sense. Whether you are doing dawah to this person, whether this person is your husband, your wife, your employee, never. Let them feel free to express their feelings and try to understand why do they give such opinions. There is a quote here which says, show respect to the other person's opinion. Never say you are wrong. Again, never say you are wrong. Never say your opinion doesn't make sense. Never say what you say is, I cannot understand, I can't agree with what you say. Never say that, because you're putting the other person off. So this will be the end of this person trying to discuss with you. Maybe they wanted to tell you something very important. And actually, there is a book entitled The Eighth Habit, How to Understand and to Be Understood. So the author of this book says, there is a time when someone was looking for a job. And this person who is looking for a job, he called a manager of a company which was employing people. So the manager told him, come to me for an interview. So this person, because he called the manager, so he feels he has a carte blanche of getting the job, whatever. So he will get the job directly and he will look down upon anyone else. So he will only respect the manager. So he goes for an interview. So he doesn't talk to the receptionist. They try to greet him. He doesn't answer. He goes directly to the manager. So little did he know that the manager of that company does not take any decisions without consulting with the receptionists. So the manager called the receptionist, what do you think about this man? And they narrate to him the story, how the man was rude, how he passed by, he didn't talk to them, he didn't say hi to them. He lost the job. He didn't get the job. So I say, do not underestimate anyone. So even if it's a cleaner, when they want to listen to you, don't say your opinion doesn't make sense. They know where they come from. They as cleaners, there are some things which they know, you don't know. So strength lies in differences, not in similarities. Strength lies in differences, not in similarities. So if you can discuss well, you can have a positive discussion with a person who has different opinions. This is a lesson for you, because if you're always discussing with people who have similar opinions, what achievement have you had? But the best achievement, or among the best achievements, is when you are able to convince someone who has a different opinion to believe in what you believe. This is among the strongest achievements. So you believe in something, you wholeheartedly believe in something, and your dawah target wholeheartedly believes in something else, and you are able to convince him to discard his belief and believe in you. This is a very huge achievement. So we should not complain of people having different ideas, different opinions. So this is a litmus test for us. This is a challenge for us. Our skills, our efforts of making sure we discuss with those people and we win them on our side. If you do that, you are a successful person. So there is a quote here from a man called Taylor Swift. He says, "We don't need to share the same opinions as others, but we need to be respectful." So we don't need to have the same opinions, but what we have to do is to respect one another. So I said you need to listen carefully, and I will end with these two slides about listening carefully. So it's not only listening carefully, there is what they call the listening continuum, the levels of listening. There is what they call empathetic listening, which is the best. So you are listening to a person within his frame of reference. What does it mean? You are a born Muslim. Your mother was a born Muslim. Your father was a born Muslim. You are talking to someone who maybe you are the first Muslim he saw, or you are among the first Muslims he saw. He comes from a background where they know little about Islam. All the information they have about Islam is from media, which is wrong. Their attitude about Islam is negative. So you are dealing with this person and you are expecting this person to have the same attitude like you or other people who have lived with Muslims. This cannot happen. So when you listen to such a person, ask yourself, for example, I am a Muslim. I am born in a country whereby people speak negatively about, for example, Hinduism, Buddhism. And I go to a Buddhist country and a Buddhist comes to me and he wants to become a Buddhist. How would I feel? The same way you feel about your religion is the same way the other person feels about his religion, if he's a Christian or Hindu. So you cannot underestimate his beliefs. So when he's talking to you, try to put yourself in the shoes of that person. There is number B, attentive listening. So the best is empathetic listening, and then we have attentive listening. This is, yes, you are listening, but you are trying to listen from your own reference. You are trying to listen, you are trying to pick what suits you, what doesn't suit you, what doesn't suit you. You don't like it. You don't like to listen. So you're talking to a non-Muslim. When he says, I respect Muslims because of the family, because of this, you like that. When he talks about things which you don't like to listen. You become busy. You fidget with your mobile. So yes, it's good, but it's not like empathetic listening. And then there is selective listening. This is when you listen to what you want, and what you don't want, you don't listen to it. Someone is talking to you, you're typing something in a computer. When he says something attractive, you stop typing. When it's not attractive, you type. When he says something which is attractive, you stop fidgeting with the mobile. So you are selecting what to listen to and what not to listen to. It's listening, but it's less effective than the first and the second. Then we have pretentious listening. This is when your son is talking to you, you're patronizing him. So what do you have to say? Why do you say this? Why don't say this? So you are even telling him what to say and what not to say. Give him freedom to express his feelings. It's his feelings, not your feelings. Let him use his own words in expressing his feelings. And then you can comment on that after. And even when you comment on that, do not insult him. So pretentious listening, and then there is ignoring. You don't listen at all. Someone is talking to you, you're just with your mobile. So if we really want to make our discussion fruitful and more effective, we have to put into consideration these levels of listening, and we have to maintain we have to adopt and maintain empathetic listening. And actually, because this is the best level of listening, I will share a slide on how to achieve empathetic listening. So levels of empathetic listening, how can you achieve it? First, you mimic content. What does it mean? So the person says, this is my first time to meet with a Muslim. So you say, oh, okay. So you mean since you were born, this is the first time to meet with a Muslim? Yes. So you keep on repeating what he says to give him the impression that you are interested in understanding what he says, and you don't want to cut him out of context. So he will respect you more. But if he says, for example, that he worships 3 gods, so you can say, okay, so you mean it's good to, or you mean we should worship 3 gods. What I mean is when you're mimicking the content, if it's negative, it's not within the parameters of Islam, just try to rephrase it like he is the one who is saying. So you are saying that it's so and so. So don't attribute it to yourself or to any Muslim or to Islam. Rephrase the content. So he's telling you something. For example, he says, I've been here for 3 years. So you say, okay, so you mean you've been in Kuwait for 3 years? And to reflect feeling. For example, if this person says he was mistreated somewhere, don't smile. When he speaks about something sad, do not smile. Or he tells you, for example, his father died, don't smile. So if he says his father died, so show sympathy. So reflecting feeling is when someone shares with you a happy moment, you show happiness. And when someone shares with you a sad moment, you show sadness. You don't show happiness when someone talks to you about something sad. So for example, someone is telling you, for example, someone says, you know, I had a stomach ache and now you're smiling. No. So even if the person isn't a Muslim, you're discussing with him, you want him to respect you, you want him to listen to you, you have to reflect feeling when he's talking to you. And you have to sincerely desire to understand. Have the desire to understand. So whatever you're doing, put it aside. Silence your mobile. You know, again, another issue, another problem with some Muslims is doing da'wah to a non-Muslim. And most of the time, calls are coming, is answering calls. Oh, sorry. So no, put the mobile aside. Because if you keep fidgeting with the mobile, if you keep distracting the person, he feels you do not respect him. And now you're talking about Islam, we respect human beings, you know, you human beings are equal, but the way you behave does not show respect. And this person might not be willing to sit with you next time. It happened to me sometime. Someone called me to discuss issues with me, and every time it was mobile, I said, I'm sorry, we will discuss it another time. I had to go out because I felt this person was not respecting me all the time to interrupt me to answer the mobile phone. So what you do, switch off the mobile. If you're typing something on the computer, switch it off, give him an eye contact, show that you are interested in what he's saying, what he's telling you. Even if what he says does not resonate with your beliefs, just show him you are interested to learn, and this will make him feel comfortable and will make him feel like to talk more. So with this, I come to the end of our talk today. If you have any questions, you can ask, and next time we'll be still talking about some other issues which are very important. So someone has raised their hand, so I'll be glad to take the question. I think it's Monica. So yes.
Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, good sister.
Yes, alhamdulillah. I have a question, like more technical question, because
yes.
I reverted to Islam 3 years ago.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, but my parents are Christian.
Yes, yes.
So I'm trying, of course, with my parents first, right, with my family. So with the mistakes you mentioned, like 80%, I made them. So I'm still learning, right? Yes. But my father asked me one question, which I really couldn't give him an answer, and I'm still looking for it. He said, if I die as a disbeliever, you will not be able to pray for me, right? You know,
okay.
And like, yes, it broke my heart, and I didn't know what to tell him.
Okay, okay, yeah.
I'm looking for the answer, inshallah.
Yes. Yeah, you know, sister.
Yes.
I was doing da'wah to a Christian friend, and I happened to visit him. He invited me to his country. I went there, and his mother died, and he asked me to pray for his mother. And actually, you know, it took time for them to bury the mother. Anyway, after the burial, he took me to the grave of his mother, and he wanted me to pray for his mother. Now, I want to win the heart of this person. According to Islam, your parent is your parent. Whether the parents are Muslims or not, you have to honor your parents. You have to be dutiful to your parents. And I always tell people, we don't judge anyone. Even if this person isn't a Muslim, you don't know what's in the heart. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can judge. We don't judge anyone. So what I did, I stood at the grave of his mother. I said, oh Allah, you know what's in the hearts. We don't know what's in the hearts. According to what I know, they told me this lady was a Christian. You know the beliefs more than me. Oh Allah, according to the beliefs of this person in you, please help her, be merciful to her. So you can tell your father that since he does not believe in God, still you will pray to God to be merciful to him, because only God can judge and you and I cannot judge him. So you tell him you will still pray to him.
This is beautiful. It's very useful. Shukran, jazakallah khair.
Yeah, barakallahu fikum. Any other question? Any other question?
Yeah, mashallah.
Brother Abdul Qadir, do you have a question?
No, actually, everything is clear now.
Okay. Any other questions?
Jazakallah khairan.
Wa iyyakum barakallahu fikum. Okay, no questions?
Jazakallahu khairan.
Wa iyyakum. Okay, anyway,
Thank you so
Anyway, you have my number. If anyone has a question, you can always send me a message and I will either call you back or I can write the answer to you, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, barakallahu fikum.
Inshallah, jazakallah khair.
Wa iyyakum barakallahu.